and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I'm excited about this weather. It's sunshiny, it's beautiful, it's spring, and I'm super excited about my guest, Fabian, who is amazing. He was one of the influencers with me at the IMTS show. So you're in for a treat or a snack. We'll have to
Oh,
circle
yeah,
back on
sure.
that. Okay. Well, jump on here and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Fabian Alefeld. I wear a few hats. One is my main hat, which is I'm part of a company called EOS. EOS is well, it is the global leader in industrial 3D printing, also known as additive manufacturing. We're in the metal and polymer additive manufacturing space, but I think since we're mainly going to talk about pumps, we're going to mainly talk about the metal additive manufacturing sector. At EOS, I'm the director of business development and academy. So anything from developing new markets to developing the workforce is all of my passion. And in addition, I'm also the host of the Additive Snack podcast, where we have awesome leaders of the additive manufacturing sector, users, and companies talk about their lessons and their guidance for other folks who want to enter the space.
So y'all can see why I was excited that he's on here. It's not new, okay? But it's newly being talked about, and we have a resource here. So at the end of the podcast, we talk about how to get in touch with him. Do it. Like share the episode, get people talking about it, and yeah, point some interesting people to him to be on his podcast too. So
Sure.
this was kind of why I wanted to talk to you. We have been talking about additive manufacturing, but I love just let's simplify it a little bit. 3D printing, I love that you said that, and being the world leader as well. But how does one get into an industry like this?
Well, additive manufacturing, like you said, is it's not new, but it's new, right? It's been around for 35 years. The technology was invented, depending on who you ask, whether it's UT Austin or MIT, doesn't really matter, but it's been around for a long time. And it was initially a prototyping technology. That's where, the technology was born and used for the first, I would say, 20 years. But, especially in the last 10 years, we saw an increasing adoption for end use parts. And today, the majority of systems in the world are used for end use applications, so production parts. Myself, as probably everybody in additive, I got into it accidentally, right? I have an engineering background, met people that knew people, got talking, and all of a sudden, I found myself interviewing for a position at EOS. Yeah, and that was 10 years ago. If you hear an accent, I am German. Started out also at the EOS headquarters in Germany, but I've been in Texas now for 7 years. Consider myself somewhat of a German cowboy now.
I
Uh,
love it. Which part of Texas?
Austin. So it's also spring, but it's a bit cloudy today, by the way. So we're gonna get some rain, which is also
Which means it's coming to us next. That's what happens. That
exactly
well,
exactly.
okay, so why engineering?
Why engineering? I mean, that's another good question, right? Why do you choose a career path? I've always been sort of a tinkerer. I always, even as a kid, was in my dad's garage, playing with all his tools, woodworking, etc. Um, and I always, I think as a kid, I wanted to become an inventor. That was others were firefighters and bakers. I wanted to be an inventor.
But it's kind
And
of you are. I mean, and to be able to see the product, right? You kind of imagine it, engineer it, and then it like comes out. Like, how fascinating is that to you?
yeah, and especially my current role, I really get to figure out the next frontier of additive manufacturing adoption, right? I mean, who's next? Is it going to be humanoid robots where we can print various types of thermal management devices, but also structural components, or is it the drone industry? I think both, but we'll have to see and work hard to get the awareness out there.
So, what are people using this for now?
So additive manufacturing is way more widely adopted than most people know, especially in the manufacturing space. So if you look at various verticals such as the aerospace, especially space industry, right? So it's the space industry, there is no major space company that does not use additive for critical components such as combustion chambers, such as turbo pumps, pump housings, etc. The medical sector has adopted additive for implants, right? So 30 to 40% of hip implants today in the US are 3D printed. A good majority of spinal implants are 3D printed. Those are both typically Ti-6-4, so titanium alloys. Hip or knee and shoulder are coming up next with new alloys. If you look at the automotive industry, we have prototyping, that's the legacy, but high pressure die casting is a huge adoption space, especially for the newer, very large castings that you see in the automotive EV sector. And I could go on, right? All the way to the energy sector. Siemens Energy, for example, which is a manufacturer of gas turbines years ago already declared the point of no return from additive, meaning applications that they're printing, such as fuel injectors, such as stator vanes, can now only be produced additively because they contribute so much to the efficiency of a gas turbine. And there's many more examples like that. So it's a very mature technology. It's a very mature industry. And we even have parts on Mars on the Perseverance rover driving around, turning the Mars atmosphere into oxygen. So super cool stuff.
It really is super cool. I went to Italy. I'm trying to think. I think it was just last year. Yes, it was last year. It just seems like a blur how fast everything's going. But I did get to see some of the stator that was 3D printed and the like massive pieces of equipment, y'all. It's not like these little bitty parts that you think about, you know. So I'm really that you see on a trade show floor, right? The little bitty parts you see on the trade show. We're not going to bring in these large pieces of equipment into the trade show, but it was fascinating to see in a facility like that. So it's happening. We're using it. Thankfully, that will help with efficiency, cutting costs, and things like that. Which is great, thinking about the state of the world that we're in. And I have to ask you because I saw you on a podcast and kind of opened yourself up to having this conversation. What can people do right now? It seems very uncertain. What advice would you give people?
Well, I think that's probably going to change change again, whatever I say today. But I mean, uh, I'm an optimist, or maybe a possibilist, if that's a word. We have to kind of work with the cards that were dealt. From an additive manufacturing angle, I think there are a few benefits to manufacturers today that it can provide to respond. I mean, yeah, to tariffs, it seems like it's a bad word to say out loud now, right? But I mean, it is April 4th, 2025. So we just, went through a pretty rapid change in the global economy. But really, what it all comes down to, which even prior to the new administration coming in, I think there was in various countries, especially in the Western Hemisphere, a push for reshoring and nearshoring, right? I mean, that's nothing new. And I
Definitely
think
COVID made that a priority.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. COVID was the first supply chain disruption. Then we had a few natural disasters. Then we had the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. And there's probably going to be more. And I think we've all realized that this global supply chains we have built over the past 40 years are somewhat fragile, and are probably not as stable as we need them to be in today's world where we just have shifts and changes that happen more and more rapidly, right? And therefore, bringing manufacturing back to the point of need, I think, is a move that probably many companies and manufacturers are thinking about. additive manufacturing is not going to be the only solution there, right? There's many other approaches that companies need to think about, but it is one tool in the toolbox of manufacturers to think about rapid response, to think about a more demand-driven manufacturing capacity, to think about aftermarket and spare part availability, reducing warehouses and working capital, but also increasing speed to market, innovation pipeline, and the ramp up of new products with a manufacturing technology that's a bit more agile and doesn't require tool changes or a lot of upfront planning.
You
That's a
did
lot to
yeah,
spill
I was
right
gonna
now, and
say you
I'd be
did it
happy to
great.
dive into a few of those topics and give some examples as well, right?
Well, we can't give all of your value away on the very first podcast, right? We have to let them
Yeah,
contact
or we'll do a
well.
follow-up. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think that you did a great job, and you just explaining the value, and really, we talked about this too. Like, what can we do today, right? Like, what do we need to be focused on today? Definitely helps, and having a positive outlook. Maybe not, but the optimism. Sometimes we can be maybe too positive in that, but being a realist in what we can do today with a positive mindset, I think is very healthy. And this is the world we're living in. We got to work in it. So let's figure out how to do
Yeah,
it efficiently, right? Which I'm excited that we've been working, we've been working hard for a long time and to work smarter. And this seems like the technology that is there allowing us to do it. So I'm
for
excited.
sure. For sure. Yeah. No, and I mean there's good examples out there. It's I just talked to the German railway organization. They started implementing additive 10 years ago for spare parts. As you can imagine, these trains sometimes are 50 years old. The manufacturers of spare parts don't exist anymore. They have implemented a strategy to push for the additive manufacturing of spare parts, move more and more towards a digital warehouse. So not having, parts on stock or, if a certain part is required, they oftentimes realize there's a 1 year lead time. The minimum order quantity is 100, but we only need one. And now we're putting 100 years of spare parts into our warehouse, right? And it's just all capital that sits there that doesn't have any use. Printing that part makes a lot of sense, right? And they're now saving double-digit millions every year just by printing these parts, right? The U.S. Navy is on a very strong path towards additive manufacturing. They have a similar challenge. There is not enough casting houses in the US today to provide enough parts to build 3 submarines a year. Right now, we built one. So it's a threefold factor we have to overcome. Additive is perfect, right? It allows for various geometric geometries to be printed. They're oftentimes the same alloy, so it can even print multiple parts in one build. And therefore, there's multiple benefits of it going towards an additive strategy there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I have a friend of mine that works in the defense on the engine side, but well, really so many different products now. They're so close to being able to build the ship themselves, I think. But being able to, I've seen that process, and there's a lot of moving parts there. So I love
Yeah.
that example because it does tie it again. I mean, honestly, every what we need to survive when we think about that, we're surrounded by our comfort and our needs. Those things aren't going away, so we've got to figure out how to do it better. Um, well, good. All right. One thing that I have to ask you before I let you go, just on the workforce side, how are y'all, I guess, getting the word out to bring in kind of that next generation into this field?
Yeah, it's a really good topic that I think about a lot. We take multiple approaches. So the one is we started what we call the Additive Minds Academy, which really is we're a provider of online and in-person education around additive manufacturing. In the US, for example, we have a Academy Center up in Michigan, just outside of Detroit in Novi. And there we offer, hands-on trainings and classes for participants to understand the full process chain of additive manufacturing, what it takes to implement a machine, and so on and so forth. And then we have online classes for how do I design for additive, right? I mean, you work a lot in the pump space, right? We see here impellers and pump housings being manufactured on a daily basis. There's various benefits to it. One is part consolidation, so you can print, closed impellers in one piece out of, stainless steels or Inconel 625 or even Ti 64 for lightweight applications. And therefore, we also offer, very in-depth courses for engineers to figure out how do I apply that process to my application, right? How do I design for additive? What about the whole development process for materials? And what material properties can I expect, right? Most people don't know that, additive delivers fully dense parts on the metal side, 99.9x% depending on the material, which is way above casting and very close to forging. Um, so we teach all of that in various types of formats, and we also love to partner, right? We have partnerships with various universities. So we have, for example, our online content at the University of Illinois, which uses it for undergrad and grad education. We have now also a partnership with the Navy, which we're announcing right now to develop the maritime industrial base, which will get access to some of our courses. So yeah, we do a lot in order to really push that workforce topic.
I love it. I love it. Well, there's so much I could talk to you about, which we have discovered, not today, but always. But I'll give you the last word and then I want to do a little rapid fire.
Well, last word, I think it's really important for people to understand that additive has a lot of potential. It's also not uh, the technology that will solve all of our problems, right? I think to your point, it takes like every new technology, a team to really look into it, to understand it. There's luckily now companies like ourselves, but also a very strong contract manufacturing network all across the world, but especially also here in the US that can help with part manufacturing, which also reduces the risk of implementation at the barrier of entry. Um, and yeah, if you are interested in learning more about it, also feel free to reach out to me. Always happy to do a one-on-one session with myself. Go through a training, check out the capabilities, and I'm pretty certain that for most organizations, there's a play there.
Awesome. So we'll definitely put a link in there to you and your organization and the podcast. Um, all right. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book of the past few years has been Comfort Crisis.
Okay. What about music?
Ooh, music. I love Chris Stapleton.
Okay.
Uh,
All
Pretty
right.
awesome.
So you are definitely a German cowboy now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then what is the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh, that's a good one. There's so much. Well, I'll take one from a book. It sounds morbid, but it I think it's good. There's a country right next to Tibet, Bhutan, that's lives a very anti-Western lifestyle, meaning they don't think about consumption a lot. They think about the purpose of life a lot. And the way they do that is they think about death 3 times a day when they wake up, after lunch, and before they go to bed. And it sounds kind of scary, but it really puts you into the right mindset to be your best self every day at work, at home with the family. And I thought that was really good advice.
Yeah. Okay. And what if you could give somebody advice? What advice would you give somebody kind of jumping into this kind of career path?
Um, I think key is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. in a career environment. I think every day you should try to push yourself into an uncomfortable situation. Not at all times where you're stressed out, but I think if you do these 1% incremental changes, a little bit about compound interest, that does a lot. So that'd be my advice.
I love that. There's probably some of that in that book that you told us about too. So I appreciate you so much. It's been great as always, and look forward to seeing you at the next event. See you soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
So everybody else, make sure that you share this episode, like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. And until next time, be empowering.